The escape that led to destiny. Some mistakes change everything. Others save you from a life half-lived. Emma Torres never imagined that fleeing from one disaster would lead her straight into the arms of fate itself. The rain hammered against the windshield as Emma gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white with tension. Behind her, somewhere in the chaos of Seattle's downtown traffic, was Derek Hammond, the man she'd almost married, the man whose true nature she discovered just hours before their rehearsal dinner. Her phone buzzed relentlessly in the cup holder, his name flashing across the screen for the 40th time. She ignored it, taking a sharp turn into an underground parking garage she didn't recognize. Emma Torres, 28 years old, worked as a freelance graphic designer with dreams bigger than her bank account. She had spent 3 years with Derek, believing his promises of partnership and respect, only to overhear him on the phone with his business partner, laughing about how marrying her would give him access to her late grandmother's trust fund, the fund she'd planned to use for opening her own design studio, the fund he'd somehow learned about despite her careful privacy. The parking garage was attached to some upscale hotel. Emma pulled into a spot, killed the engine, and finally allowed herself to breathe. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone, turning it off completely. She needed silence. She needed to think. A sharp tap on her window made her jump. A security guard stood there, middle-aged and concerned. She rolled down the window halfway. "Miss, this is private parking for hotel guests only," he said, not unkindly. "I'm so sorry," Emma stammered, realizing how she must look with mascara-streaked cheeks and a wrinkled dress. "I just needed a moment. I'll leave right now." The guard's expression softened. "You all right? You need me to call someone?" "No, thank you. I'm fine. Just a bad day." She started the engine again, humiliated and lost. As she backed out of the spot, another car whipped around the corner too fast. Emma slammed on her brakes, but the other vehicle clipped her front bumper with a sickening crunch. Both cars jerked to a halt. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Emma got out, surveying the damage. Her ancient Honda had a crumpled fender, but the other car, a sleek silver Mercedes, seemed barely scratched. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a man who looked like he'd walked off the cover of a business magazine. Tall, probably 6 feet, with dark hair pushed back from his face and sharp green eyes that assessed the situation with immediate intensity. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her rent, and his jaw was set in a line of obvious frustration. "I'm so sorry," Emma began, even though she knew it wasn't her fault. "I was just backing out and you came around the corner really fast." "I was late for a meeting," he said curtly, pulling out his phone to photograph the damage. "This is the last thing I need today." "Well, it's not exactly the highlight of mine either," Emma shot back, her patience finally snapping. "In case you haven't noticed, your car barely has a scratch while mine looks like it lost a fight with a shopping cart." He looked up from his phone, really seeing her for the first time. His expression shifted slightly, the irritation giving way to something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or concern. "You're upset," he observed. "Brilliant deduction," Emma said, wiping at her face and probably smearing her makeup further. "I'm having a fantastic day. Best day ever." A pause stretched between them. The security guard had wandered over, looking between them uncertainly. "Everything okay here, Mr. Westbrook?" the guard asked Mr. Westbrook. The name tickled something in Emma's memory, but she was too frazzled to place it. "Fine, George," the man said, his voice gentler now. He turned back to Emma. "Look, I'll cover the damages to both vehicles. Just give me your information and my insurance will handle everything." "That's not necessary," Emma started to protest, but he held up a hand. "Please, I was driving too fast. And you look like you've been through enough today without adding insurance claims to the list." His green eyes held genuine concern now. "Are you sure you're all right?" Something about his directness, the lack of false sympathy or prying questions, made Emma's throat tighten with unexpected emotion. She nodded, not trusting her voice. "I'm Nathaniel Westbrook," he said, extending his hand. "Emma Torres." She shook his hand, noticing the firm warmth of his grip. Nathaniel Westbrook. The name finally clicked. She'd seen articles about him in the business section of the paper. Real estate developer, 33 years old, self-made millionaire who'd turned his family's struggling construction company into a thriving empire of luxury properties and sustainable housing projects. Known for being ruthlessly efficient in business but surprisingly philanthropic in his private life. "You're staring," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Sorry, I just realized who you are. I designed the marketing materials for the Riverside project last year. Well, my firm did. I was just one of the team. His eyebrows rose. That was excellent work. Clean, modern, but warm. Exactly what we wanted. He glanced at her car, then back at her face. Listen, I really do need to get to this meeting. It's with the mayor about a new affordable housing initiative, but I hate leaving you here like this. He pulled out a business card and a pen, writing on the back. This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow and we'll sort out the car situation. And if you need anything else, a referral to a good mechanic, whatever, just call. Emma took the card, surprised by the gesture. Men like Nathaniel Westbrook didn't give out their personal numbers to strangers in parking garages. Thank you, she managed. He nodded, started to walk back to his car, then paused. For what it's worth, whatever happened today, you're handling it with more grace than most people would. He smiled, transforming his serious face into something genuinely kind. Things have a way of working out. Then he was gone, pulling out of the garage with considerably more care than he'd entered it. Emma stood there holding his card, the rain still falling outside, her life in shambles around her, and felt the strangest sensation. Not hope exactly, but possibility. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, running away from Derek Hammond was the first right decision she'd made in years. She got back in her car, Nathaniel's card resting on the dashboard, and drove to her best friend Claire's apartment. She'd figure out the rest tomorrow. Tonight, she just needed to breathe. What Emma didn't know was that Nathaniel had sat in his car for 5 full minutes after their encounter, staring at the scratched bumper and thinking about the woman with the tear-stained face and defiant eyes. He'd been on his way to a meeting that could define his company's future, but all he could think about was whether she was safe, whether someone had hurt her, whether she had anyone to take care of her. He made it to the mayor's office with 3 minutes to spare, but his mind kept drifting back to the parking garage, to Emma Torres, and to the strange certainty that their meeting hadn't been an accident at all. When worlds collide, Emma woke up on Claire's couch with a stiff neck and the sinking realization that yesterday had actually happened. The late morning sun streamed through the windows of her best friend's studio apartment, and the smell of coffee beckoned from the kitchen. You're alive, Claire announced, appearing with 2 mugs. She was a whirlwind of energy even in her pajamas. Her red hair pulled into a messy bun. I was starting to worry you'd gone comatose from emotional exhaustion. Emma sat up, accepting the coffee gratefully. What time is it? Almost 11. I called your mom and told her you were staying here. Didn't mention the Derek situation because I figured you'd want to handle that yourself. Claire settled cross-legged on the other end of the couch. Now tell me everything, and I mean everything. Over the next hour, Emma recounted the entire nightmare, finding the text messages on Derek's laptop when she'd borrowed it to print their seating chart, the phone call she'd overheard, his casual cruelty when confronted, the way he'd tried to gaslight her into thinking she'd misunderstood, her flight from the venue, the accident in the parking garage. Wait, Claire interrupted. Nathaniel Westbrook? The Nathaniel Westbrook? The guy who's on the Forbes 30 under 40 list, I guess? I don't know. He seemed nice enough considering I basically destroyed his afternoon. Claire grabbed her laptop. Emma, look. She turned the screen around. There he was. The same intense green eyes, but in the photos he looked more polished, more distant. Articles described his business acumen, his unexpected rise in the competitive Seattle real estate market, his reputation for fair dealing in an industry known for cutthroat practices. He's also single, Claire added with a meaningful look. Stop. I literally just escaped one relationship disaster. I'm not looking for another one. I'm just saying the universe works in mysterious ways. Emma's phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on that morning to a flood of messages. Derek, her mother, various friends and relatives who'd heard about the canceled wedding. She'd responded to her mother with a brief explanation and a promise to talk soon. Derek's messages she'd deleted without reading. But this notification was different. A text from an unknown number. Good morning. This is Nathaniel Westbrook. I wanted to check if you made it home safely yesterday. Also, I've arranged for a repair service to call you about your car. No obligation, just wanted to help. Take care, Claire read over her shoulder. Okay, that's actually really sweet. Most rich guys would have just had their assistant handle everything. Emma stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Before she could overthink it, her fingers moved across the keyboard. Thank you for checking in. I really appreciate your help with the car. Yesterday was complicated, but I'm okay now. His response came quickly. Glad to hear it. If you're free this afternoon, I'm meeting with the repair shop owner at 2. You could see the facility, meet the team, completely low pressure. Is he asking you on a date disguised as a car repair consultation? Claire asked, delighted. It's not a date. It's just practical. Sure. And I'm the Queen of England. Despite her protests, Emma found herself agreeing to meet Nathaniel at the repair shop. She showered, borrowed some clothes from Claire, and spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to look casually presentable. The repair shop was in an industrial area south of downtown, a surprisingly upscale facility that specialized in both luxury and economy vehicles. Nathaniel was already there when Emma arrived, talking with a man in coveralls who was gesturing enthusiastically at a car lift. He turned when the door chimed, and his face lit up with a smile that made Emma's stomach do an unexpected flip. Emma, hi. Thanks for coming. He gestured to the man beside him. This is Roberto Chavez. He owns the place, and he's the best in Seattle. Roberto shook her hand warmly. Any friend of Nate's is family here. Let's take a look at your car. The next hour passed in a blur of technical assessments and good-natured jokes between Nathaniel and Roberto. Emma learned that Nathaniel had invested in Roberto's shop 5 years ago, when the business was struggling, asking for nothing in return except quality work for his employees when they needed it. He does this kind of thing all the time, Roberto told Emma when Nathaniel stepped outside to take a call. Invests in people, not just properties. Half the businesses in this neighborhood exist because of him, but he never talks about it. Man's got a heart bigger than his bank account. When Nathaniel returned, his expression was troubled. I'm sorry, I need to cut this short. There's a situation at one of my properties. Is everything okay? Emma asked. He hesitated. One of my residential buildings had a pipe burst. It's a low-income housing complex, and we've got families with nowhere to go while repairs are made. I need to figure out temporary housing for about 20 households. That sounds like a nightmare, Emma said sympathetically. It's part of the job. Taking care of people comes first. He turned to Roberto. Get Emma's car fixed up. Whatever it needs, and bill me directly. Already planned on it, boss. Nathaniel started toward the door, then paused. He looked at Emma with an expression she couldn't quite read. This is going to sound strange, but would you want to help? I could use someone with a creative mind to help coordinate housing logistics and communicate with the families. You'd be compensated for your time, obviously. Emma blinked. You want to hire me? You barely know me. I know you're good under pressure. I know you care about doing things right. And I trust my instincts. He smiled slightly. Plus, you've got experience making complicated things look simple, which is exactly what I need right now. Something in his earnestness made the decision easy. Okay, yes, how can I help? The rest of the afternoon was a whirlwind. Nathaniel's office was a converted warehouse with exposed brick and massive windows overlooking the water. His team was small but efficient, and they welcomed Emma without question. She found herself coordinating with hotels, creating a database of families and their specific needs, and designing a simple communication system to keep everyone informed. Around 7, Nathaniel appeared at her borrowed desk with 2 containers of Thai food. You haven't eaten, he observed. Neither have you. Fair point. He sat down across from her, and they ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Can I ask you something? Nathaniel said finally. Sure. Yesterday in the parking garage, you looked like someone who'd just made a hard decision, the kind that changes everything. His green eyes were gentle. I'm not asking for details, but I want you to know that I recognize courage when I see it. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. I left my fiancé yesterday. Well, my almost fiancé. The wedding was supposed to be this weekend. She expected shock or awkward sympathy. Instead, Nathaniel just nodded. Then you saved yourself from a mistake. That takes strength, or stupidity. I don't even have a place to stay long-term. I was living in his apartment. The offer for this job is real if you want it. Not forever, but until you figure things out. I could use a good project coordinator, and you're a natural. He paused. And before you think this is charity or something inappropriate, it's not. I legitimately need help, and you're good at this. Emma looked around the office at the work she'd accomplished in just a few hours, at the families they were helping. She thought about Derek and his manipulations, about her abandoned dreams of opening a design studio, about the terrifying freedom of starting over. One condition, she said. Name it. I want to learn everything, not just coordination. How you built this business, how you decide what projects matter, how you balance profit with purpose. She met his eyes. I want to eventually do something like this myself. Nathaniel's smile was genuine and warm. Deal. I'll teach you everything I know. They shook hands across the desk and Emma felt something shift inside her. Not romance, not yet, but recognition. The sense that she'd found someone who understood what it meant to build something meaningful from nothing. What neither of them knew was that Derek had hired a private investigator to find Emma, and that by week's end, he'd discover exactly where she was spending her time and with whom. His rage would be spectacular, his revenge petty and dangerous, but that was a problem for future Emma. Tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be, learning from someone who saw her potential instead of her usefulness, building something real instead of running from something false, building something real. 3 weeks had passed since Emma started working with Nathaniel, and her life had transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. She'd found a small apartment near the waterfront, nothing fancy but bright and hers. The housing crisis at Nathaniel's property had been resolved with creativity and care, earning her genuine respect from his team. And somewhere along the way, between late-night strategy sessions and early morning coffee runs, she and Nathaniel had become friends. Real friends, the kind who understood each other's silences and celebrated each other's victories without jealousy. Emma was learning fast. Nathaniel kept his promise, teaching her about property development, community investment, and the delicate balance between profitability and social responsibility. She discovered she had a gift for it, for seeing how spaces could be transformed to serve people's real needs rather than just maximize revenue. You're thinking about that community center project again, Nathaniel said one morning, catching her staring at the blueprints spread across her desk. Emma glanced up, smiling. How can you tell? You get this look, like you're solving a puzzle in your head. He leaned against her desk, coffee in hand. What are you seeing? The second-floor layout doesn't make sense for the families who'll use it. Look, if we moved the daycare here and expanded the computer lab, parents could work on job applications while their kids are being supervised right next door. It's all about flow and accessibility. Nathaniel studied the blueprints with fresh eyes. You're absolutely right, that's brilliant. The praise made her glow. With Derek, every achievement had been met with faint condescension or immediate criticism. With Nathaniel, she felt seen and valued for exactly who she was. I've been thinking, Nathaniel said, setting down his coffee. There's a property auction next month, small commercial building in a neighborhood that's starting to revitalize. I'm planning to bid on it, but I want a partner, someone with vision and stake in the outcome. Emma's heart skipped. Are you offering me a partnership? A junior partnership to start? 20% equity, full involvement in all decisions. You'd need to invest some capital, but nowhere near market rate. Consider it an investment in your future studio. He smiled. I believe in you, Emma. I think you could build something extraordinary. She felt tears threatening. This was everything she'd dreamed of with her grandmother's trust fund, but better because she'd earned it through her own merit and hard work. Yes, she said, not needing to think about it. Absolutely yes. They shook hands, both grinning like kids, and Emma felt the future unfold before her with dazzling possibility. That afternoon, Claire called with news. Derek's been asking about you. Mutual friends say he's been on a rampage since you left. Apparently, he thought you'd come crawling back within a week. Emma felt a chill. What kind of rampage? The pathetic kind. Showing up at your old haunts, calling your friends, claiming you had some kind of breakdown. Everyone who matters knows the truth, but he's making noise. Let him, Emma said, surprised by her own confidence. I'm building a real life now. He has no power over me anymore. But that evening, as Emma left the office, she found Derek waiting by her car. He looked terrible, unshaven and rumpled, anger radiating from every line of his body. 3 weeks, he snarled. 3 weeks and you've moved on to Nathaniel Westbrook? That's fast even for you. This isn't about you, Emma said calmly, though her heart raced. And it's definitely not what you think. I know everything, Emma. The cozy office setup, the lunch meetings, the way he looks at you. You traded up nicely. Was that your plan? All along? My plan was to escape a toxic relationship with a manipulative liar. Everything else has been a bonus. She unlocked her car door. Move on, Derek, I have. He grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise. That trust fund should have been mine. I spent 3 years investing in you. Let her go. Nathaniel's voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. He'd appeared from the parking garage entrance, and his expression was colder than Emma had ever seen it. Derek dropped her arm but sneered. The knight in shining armor. How convenient that you were nearby. I work here. It's my building. Nathaniel moved between Emma and Derek, his posture protective but not aggressive. You need to leave now. Or what? You'll throw money at me? Or I'll call the police and press assault charges. I have cameras throughout this property, and I just watched you grab Emma hard enough to hurt her. Nathaniel pulled out his phone. Your choice. Leave peacefully, or leave in handcuffs. Derek looked between them, his face twisted with impotent rage. Then he spat at Emma's feet and stalked away, throwing a final threat over his shoulder. This isn't over. Emma watched him go, her hands shaking. Nathaniel gently guided her back inside the building to his office and made her sit down while he got her water. I'm sorry you had to witness that, Emma said, embarrassed. Don't apologize for his behavior. Nathaniel knelt in front of her chair, his green eyes fierce. Emma, if he bothers you again, if he even looks at you wrong, you tell me immediately. I don't care if it's midnight or I'm in a meeting with the president. You matter more. The intensity in his voice made her breath catch. She saw something shift in his expression, a crack in the professional facade they'd both carefully maintained. When you walked into my life in that parking garage, he said quietly, everything changed. I told myself I was just helping someone in need. That's what I do, right? Help people. But the truth is, Emma, from the first moment I saw you, fighting through whatever nightmare you were facing with such dignity, I knew you were someone special. Someone I wanted to know. Someone I wanted in my life, not just as an employee or partner, but as something more. Emma's heart hammered. Nathaniel, I just got out of an awful relationship. I'm not sure I'm ready for anything complicated. I know. And I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. I just needed you to know how I feel. How I've felt since the beginning. He smiled, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. You've changed my perspective on everything. The way you see possibilities where others see problems. The way you care about people without expecting anything in return. You make me want to be better, do more, reach higher. Emma touched his face gently. This man who'd given her back her belief in herself, who'd shown her what partnership could really mean. You already are those things. You just needed someone to see you clearly. They stayed like that for a long moment, the office quiet around them, the city lights beginning to glow outside the windows. Emma thought about the journey that had brought her here, about the pain that had led to this unexpected joy. I'm not ready for a relationship, she said softly. Not yet, but I'm ready to believe in the possibility of one, with someone who respects me, who sees me as an equal, who challenges me to grow. I can wait, Nathaniel said simply. However long it takes, you're worth waiting for. Over the following months, they built their partnership and friendship deeper. Emma threw herself into learning every aspect of the business. She discovered talents she didn't know she had, negotiating skills and strategic thinking that flourished under Nathaniel's mentorship. The property auction was successful, and their first joint project, transforming the building into affordable, live workspaces for artists, became a model that other developers started studying. Emma's confidence bloomed. She started her own design consultancy on the side, with Nathaniel's encouragement, specializing in sustainable community spaces. Her reputation grew, opportunities multiplied, and through it all Nathaniel was there, not as a savior or benefactor, but as a true partner who celebrated her successes without diminishing his own. 6 months after their first meeting, on a rainy evening that echoed the day they'd met, Emma and Nathaniel stood on the roof deck of their newly completed project. Families were moving into the building below, laughter and music drifting up through the autumn air. We did this, Emma said, wonder in her voice. We actually built something that matters. You did this, Nathaniel corrected gently. I just provided the resources. The vision was yours. Emma turned to face him, this man who'd entered her life at her lowest moment and helped her discover her highest potential. I'm ready, she said simply. Ready for what? Ready to stop waiting. Ready to take a chance on something that scares me because it matters so much. She took his hands. Ready for you. Nathaniel's smile was like sunrise. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Emma laughed. You know what's funny? I spent 3 years with someone who made me smaller, who wanted to use me for what I could give him. It took losing that to find someone who makes me bigger, who wants to give to me just as much as he receives. We make each other better, Nathaniel said, pulling her close. That's how it should be. Partners in everything. Their kiss was sweet and full of promise, sealed by the rain and witnessed by the city that had brought them together. When they finally pulled apart, both laughing and soaked, Emma felt a completeness she'd never experienced before. This wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was a beginning, built on mutual respect and shared dreams, on hard work and genuine connection. Emma hadn't been rescued by a wealthy man. She'd rescued herself and along the way, found someone who wanted to walk beside her, not ahead of her or behind her, but right there as an equal. Derek's final act of petty revenge. A scathing social media post about Emma and Nathaniel, barely registered. Their friends knew the truth. Their work spoke for itself, and they were too busy building their future to waste energy on his bitterness. A year later, Emma's design studio occupied the ground floor of their second joint project. Nathaniel's company had expanded its focus on sustainable community-centered development, with Emma as full partner and creative director. They'd become known throughout Seattle not just as successful developers, but as visionaries who proved that profit and purpose could coexist. And on a sunny afternoon in spring, in a small ceremony surrounded by family and friends in the courtyard of their first project, Emma Torres and Nathaniel Westbrook exchanged vows, not because of inheritance clauses or social pressure or financial gain, but because they'd built something real together, something that started with a chance encounter and grew into a partnership that would shape not just their lives, but their entire community. Claire, serving as maid of honor, whispered to Emma before the ceremony, "Remember when you ran away from Derek and crashed into that parking garage?" Emma smiled, watching Nathaniel laugh with his groomsmen, his face alight with genuine happiness. "Best wrong turn I ever made." "The universe works in mysterious ways," Claire reminded her, echoing her words from that first devastating day. Emma squeezed her hand. "No, we work in mysterious ways. The universe just gives us chances. What we build from them is entirely up to us." As she walked down the aisle toward Nathaniel, toward the life they'd created together through courage and hard work and unwavering faith in each other's potential, Emma thought about the girl who'd fled from a toxic relationship with nothing but her dignity intact. She'd been terrified then, convinced she'd made a terrible mistake, certain that starting over would break her. Instead, it had made her whole. And sometimes the best love stories aren't about being swept off your feet. They're about finding someone who helps you stand stronger on your own, who celebrates your strength rather than diminishing it, who sees partnership as multiplication rather than division. Emma had tried to run from one man and ended up in the arms of destiny. Not because Nathaniel saved her, but because she saved herself first and found someone worthy of the woman she'd become. That, she thought as Nathaniel took her hands and smiled at her with love that asked nothing except to love her back, was the real fairy tale. The one where you write your own ending, build your own castle, and choose your own partner for the adventure ahead.